Hey everyone. So yeah, thanks for inviting me. Great to be here. You know, my wife asked me how many people are going to be at this thing. I said I would guess about 10, maybe 20. So it's great to see such a turnout because I've been locked in my dungeon, as you'll hear, for the last 7 or 8 months, just working on local first, and I thought I was probably the only one in Europe. So great to see you. So I'm Peter Coppinger. I'm Irish, if you haven't guessed. I'm going to tell you about my story about how I retired 7 or 8 months ago. I was meant to take 6 or 7 months off, and 3 months ago I launched a new product. I'm just going to take you on that journey with me and how I fell in love with local first along the way. So I have 3 chapters: discovering local first, then discovering local first is fucking hard, and then how we launched the product and how I selected the product and so on. So Act 1, discovering local first. So this is me. I spent 17 years building a company called teamwork.com. Built it to about just under 50 million in revenue. 350 staff at one stage. We scaled back to about 310. And I found that my day-to-day was board meetings, dealing with the latest fire, HR issues, profitability meetings, budget meetings. Never got to work on code anymore. Never got to work on all the stuff I love. Never got to work in UI and UX and meet customers. All the stuff I love and that got us to where we ended up, I suppose. And when I actually stopped and did a kind of bit of soul searching, I was kind of like, do I enjoy this anymore? We had raised money as well. We bootstrapped the company to 36 million. That was great fun. Learned a lot along the way. Then we raised money, brought in investors, took some money off the table, all that. It turned into a different beast. And then I read this book called From Barista to Billionaire, where the guy talks about moving to the owner's box. And I was like, that sounds fucking amazing. So I thought, why don't I do that and bring in a CEO? Then my co-founder said, well, I've always been a little bit jealous. Why don't I step up and be the CEO for a while? I went, that's fucking brilliant. So I ended up in a situation where I'm still paid, don't do any work, just turn up at the board meetings, and I kicked them to go faster. So this is great. So this is my retirement. So I'm brilliant. I'm going to take a year off. I'm going to travel around the world. I'm going to go kayaking. I'm going to do all this shit. I'm going to work on keyboard, piano, fucking whatever, right? Made a list of I love technology and software. I love great UI and UX. I love doing deep work where you get in the zone. I love software strategy, high level. I love moving fast. I love delighting customers. I hate board meetings. I hate budget controls, squeezing profits for investors, and bureaucracy. So I stepped out of the day-to-day. And all my successful entrepreneur friends who've made like gazillions told me, fucking, you're not allowed. They know me. So they're like, you're not allowed to work on anything for at least 6 months. And I'm like, yes, okay, absolutely. But what happened is I stumbled on Linear. So I started helping a startup that I invested in, just helping them out with some features just for fun. And they were using Linear, and I knew they were using Linear, but I'd never actually used it. And after using it for a couple of days, hands up who knows Linear, by the way. Okay, everyone knows Linear. Linear is, well, let me tell you my journey, right? So I'm using this product. And first of all, the UI UX is so slick. It's so beautiful, so fast. I'm like really impressed. And then the speed of it, everything you click is instant. Everything updates instantly. Everything loads instantly. Everything you add is instant. You never see a loader or a spinner or anything. I'm like, what the fuck is this magic? How did it do this? Who are these guys? And as I looked into it, I'm like, what the fuck is local first? I've been building apps for over 20 years. And I've never heard of this magic. So I went down the rabbit hole big time. I started reading everything I could about the Linear guys, how they developed their philosophy, all their tech videos. Then I got into the whole local first scene. I probably read everything by anyone in this room ever wrote. I've read it. I've watched all your videos. My wife is like, what are you doing in your office? I'm like, don't worry about it. She's like, can you just get out of the house? I'm like, okay. So I started going to coffee shops. But I really went down the rabbit hole watching every single thing. And all I knew was, this is the way software should be made, and I want in. So I went on a journey. So as I look at the whole big picture here, I kind of think that I'm old enough to remember the journey. Like when you first made apps, you had server-side templating. You clicked update and the whole page refreshed, right? That's how apps were done. And then we had push state. Push state was a revelation. We had to rewrite our entire app, so you're going to be left behind, right? And then push state it didn't reload the entire app anymore. It was amazing. Then along came Ajax, and Ajax was awesome. Then along came Backbone.js. We're like, what is this voodoo? This is amazing. Then along came React and Angular and later Vue. and they're amazing. And this is really interesting. I think we're at the next inflection point where everybody's looking at the girl in the red dress, AI. Everyone's over there looking AI, AI, AI. But there's this whole thing happening here. There's a new way to write software that nobody's talking about, except maybe us geeks, right? And it's local first. I think every app should be local first. And you can shard it and all that. So I think it's the new evolution, and maybe combine it with AI. So I started brainstorming my chapter 2. I did that Brian Tracy thing where I made a list of all the things I could achieve in a year. You're meant to get a scrap of paper, write down all the things. In a year's time, I will have achieved this. I'll be able to swim this. I'll be able to do this. I'll have visited these places, whatever. I made that list. And then one of those things, he says, will jump out at you as the thing you actually fucking care about. And for me, because I'm a nerd, it was building another software product on local first. So I was like, all right, let's just get with the program. That's what I'm doing, right? But I couldn't think of what am I going to build. I'm searching G2, looking for underserved categories. I'm looking for anything, just make a couple of million. I'm not greedy. But it really just didn't have a clue. But I knew that I was going into local first in my direction of travel. And you can see I actually started this diary. So I called it my chapter 2, day 3. I had a chapter 2 folder, day 3. Work and flow state, build something, blah, blah, blah. You see lots of typos, all this, right? I lots of madness in there I couldn't even share with you. But I'm on this journey. So I started tinkering around with local first. And this is my journey into the depths of local first. Now, I did look at all the local first engines that are out there. And maybe it's a little bit because I'm a nerd and I wanted a challenge of it. And I was really impressed by the linear guys. But I really wanted to build my own. Maybe so I could have full control over the whole thing as well. So this is real. This is like 5 days in. I wrote out a plan. Didn't really know what I was going to do. I had some high-level ideas, and I said, look, if I get stuck, I'll study. Then day 6, here is the initial app I built. Of course, I was using projects and tasks, because that's my kind of background with project management. This is real. My daughter came down. I took her up to bed. I went back. I'm working on this late at night. Tomorrow I'll tidy the code. But I got basic sync working after a couple of days. Then day 8, I discovered Dexy.js. I don't know if you know this, guys, but IndexedDB is your local storage database in the browser. It is an absolute pain in the ass of an API to work with. And then Dexy.js, when I stumbled across it, it was just a game changer. It just made working with IndexedDB 1,000 times easier, and I was able to be super performant. And then I really liked how the linear guys had the ability to go, object dot attribute equals whatever dot save. And it just updates instantly, takes care of it. So I really wanted that in my sync engine. And with Dexy.js, I was able to hack in it to get that to work. So I'm 8 days in now, and I got this basics working. And as you can see here, I'm like, every time I get stuck, I'm going off researching. How do linear solve this? How do linear do that? Day 10, I discovered PostGraphile. Does anyone know what PostGraphile is? I got like 5 hands, 6 hands. All right, so I'm like, all right, I'm going to have to make a GraphQL API because linear have a GraphQL API. I fucking hate GraphQL. I always did. Just look. Then I found PostGraphile. You literally give it your database, and 4 seconds later, you have an API. And then you can refine that API by putting comments on all the different tables and all the different attributes to refine it. And then you combine that with row-level security, and you've got a beautiful, high-performant GraphQL API. And as I said here, look, in fairness, PostGraphile looks pretty amazing. It does 99% of the server-side work. Happy days. I can always build a new GraphQL API later if I need to. I found that I don't need to. It's awesome. I'm actually starting to like GraphQL, it says in there somewhere. Boom, this is beautiful. All right. Fast forward to day 12. I am really in the dungeon here now. My wife hasn't seen me for days. Kids haven't seen me for days. We got Firefox, Chrome, and Safari here. We got this system where we're running thousands of updates. I'm letting this run overnight. I'm seeing if they all end up in sync. I'm firing random attributes at it and making sure that my engine is really stable, and I'm really working on the performance. So pretty proud of what I achieved after just 12 days, really getting places. We're going to kind of leap a little forward now and look under the hood. This is I snapped this from the production app yesterday. This is kind of where I ended up. We have this sync config in the app that kind of describes your online database. And basically, this sets up the entire database. It loads all the data. It creates all the local objects and everything. If we need to get a new field, we just put it in here. It handles all your indexes. The magic of this file kind of controls the entire app. There's lots of developers in the company that there's 13 of us now. They kind of don't know how the sync engine works. All they know is that they add something in here and the magic just takes over and everything just works. And it's a pretty beautiful thing. And we got this whole system working. You can see here on the right that you can just say issue.priority equals whatever the new number is and issue.save. That's all they have to deal with in the code. And all the network code is taken care of for them. So this is one of the beautiful things with local first is there's no network programming. So I've been 20 years building apps, and half the work is, you've got to do your AJAX request to get the data. If you filter it, sort it, whatever, you got to do another request. If you update it, you got to do another request. Half your code is actually doing server updates. The beautiful thing about local first is all you do is update the UI. So you spend 99% of your time just working on UI programming, and it's a thing of beauty. And you can be super productive. And as a result of all that, you end up with this beautiful, polished app that is streaks ahead of the competition and also super performant. The Sync.js library I ended up with is about 1,000 lines of code, a couple of helpers, pretty simple. I copied everything from Linear shamelessly, not their actual code, but all their concepts, rollback, transaction queues. If a transaction fails, we automatically roll it back on the client. If you're offline, we queue up the transactions. When you reconnect online, we play the transactions. I just copied the order. They did everything in. They called the initial load of data bootstrapping. I call mine bootstrapping. I absolutely raped the Linear guys, to be fair to them. I look forward to meeting them someday and thanking them for everything. But yeah, we still have more work to do in the Scale engine. At the moment, it's early days and we don't have customers with a lot of data on the engine. But I imagine in the future, that initial load could get quite heavy, and we will have to start doing clever things to make that initial load chunk it and make it seamless, and maybe load things like comments in the background and so on. A couple of tech choices I made along the way. On the front end, Tailwind. I really like the Linear UI. Again, I robbed a lot of their ideas, but I couldn't find any nice framework that did exactly what I want the way I want. So I literally just built everything, built all the components from scratch. A lot of work, but really happy with how it ended up. I'm in love with Vue. I think it's the best framework out there. So sorry to the Angular and React people. Vue.js. I call the engine BlitzSync. We've kind of changed the name about 10 times. We're kind of settling on BlitzSync right now. The app itself is made up of 4 services. You got the front-end app. We got the API app, which is PostGraphite GraphQL. We ended up making another simple API. It's just Express and Node for things like logging in and setting up accounts and all that kind of other stuff. And then we have the sync service itself. The sync service, as you said, just all it does is it listens to Postgres events and it just relays those events to connect to clients. It's as dumb as it gets. It's about 100 lines of code, and very little work has gone into it, and it just works really, really nicely. We probably will have to do a little bit of work to it to have that scale in the near future, but it's pretty good. Postgres in the back end, PostGraphile, Node.js, and Express. So we're keeping the whole thing just JavaScript basically, and we're choosing Google Cloud and CloudFront simply because that's what Linear did. So we're copying them absolutely everything. So Act 3, built the sync engine. What the hell am I going to use it for? So literally had this in the back of my mind all the time, the sync engine. I'm going to build this thing, but where am I going to go with it? And you can see around day 42, a rough plan started coming together. I started thinking about building a product for a very niche space I know called EOS. So EOS is a framework for running your company called Entrepreneurial Operating System. It's very, very popular. There's hundreds of thousands of companies in the world using it. But we used it ourselves in Teamwork, and we have a lot of experience with it. But critically, there's a legacy application called 90.io that is on its way to 100 million in revenue with no challenger, and it's a really shitty product. And I just thought it was ripe for disruption. And the other nice thing about it was the footprint of it. It's not massive. It doesn't sprawl. It's a nicely contained, well-defined, this is what it's meant to do. So I thought this is the perfect size app to test my sync engine on. And I thought it might be a couple of million in revenue, but as I looked into the space, I thought, wow, there's actually a real opportunity here. At some point in my diary, I exclaimed like, wow, this could be $100 million app, this one alone. So my idea kind of long-term is prove out the sync engine with this app, and then I'm going to lift this engine, and I'm either going to resell it, or I'm going to have a couple of my companies that all use the same sync technology that we share across all the companies. So I'm still figuring that one out. But the first thing is, let's make this super successful. Along the way as well, I decided that I'm not going to be the CEO of this new company, because I've done that. I want to stay doing what I love. So I brought in a guy from my old company. I poached a guy from my own company to be the CEO of the new company and gave him 30%, and he's doing great. So day 148 from retirement, and we have a team. And at this stage, I designed and built the front end, mostly on my own, decided on what's going to be in the MVP. We built a roadmap. We'd made the product multilingual, because that's really hard to do later, so you might as well do that up front. Found the CEO, my old colleague, pushed my old company, and I built the initial team of people I'd worked with together. And we set a crazy ambitious target to launch by March 31st. That's meant to say day 203 of 2025 since I retired. Day 157, 8 days to launch, and I'm still hacking on things like sessions and workarounds and Cloudflare and stuff, kind of like panic mode at this stage. Starting to cut out some things that we thought we might get into the MVP, but didn't. Day 192, 11 days to launch. I'm excited, as it says in the diary. A friend of mine became our first customer. They were literally about to buy 100 users on the guys we're trying to displace. And then they said, we'll just put those 100 users in your product instead. Yeah, so that was sweet. They love the UI and the speed. Above all else, they love the UI and the speed. And we started getting customers referring us already. We reached out to a lot of early access customers, and they started sending people our way. Just mostly, I'd say 99%, because of the speed of the app. Yeah, so then this is what the website looks like today. Success.co, the next-gen software for iOS, 3 uniques, super modern, fast and intuitive, deeply integrated. That's probably where a lot of the work is going into at the moment, building out integrations and EOS license and pure. This is a taste of what the app looks like. You might pick up some linear vibes if you're used to linear. But yeah, defaulted to dark mode, and there's this accountability chart in there, and you can go in light mode as well. And you can see this menu system up here is very inspired by linear with a few improvements. I think linear get 95% of things right, but not everything. So I made a few little improvements to it. And this is kind of who we're targeting. We have these, they're called coaches. There's 857 of them all over the world, but you can see they're all clustered in America, and yellows are the ones who are interested. And this is what we're actively working on. We've got 70 of them on board so far, and it's going really well. So here we are. So we launched 3 months ago, and we have over 70 coaches on board. We have just under 100 customers. We have a guy in Japan loves our product. It's the only product in Japanese. He's bringing 50 clients in. Customers love the speed. They love the offline mode. They love that they can work on an airplane and everything just syncs when they get back on. It's a killer feature. And our unfair advantage as well, I think, is the pace at which we can move, because we don't have to do all that network stuff. We can just add something to the database, and we're cranking on the front end. It's a game changer. And it's all thanks to local first. One last thing. I'm loving life again.